side, has been a site of human activity for 15,000 years. This land is the territory of the Huron-Wendat and Petun First Nations, the Seneca, and most recently the Mississaugas of the Credit River. The territory was the subject of Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and Confederacy of the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Today, this gathering place is still the home of many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to work in the community on this territory. We are also mindful of broken covenants and the need to strive to make right with all our relations. Last but certainly not least, we acknowledge the people of African descent who were brought here against their own will or in search of a safe place to live their lives and raise their children. Reconnaissance des terres. En nous rassemblant, nous reconnaissons la terre sacrée sur laquelle nous résidons. C'est un site d'activité humaine depuis 15 000 ans. Cette terre est le territoire des Premières Nations Huron-Wendat et Petun, les Scéniques et plus récemment les Mississaugas de la rivière Crédit. Le territoire était sujet de l'alliance de la ceinture Wampum plat avec cuillère, un accord entre la Confédération Iroquois et Confédération des Ojibwe et des nations alliées à partager et à prendre soin pacifiquement pour les ressources autour des Grands Lacs. Aujourd'hui, ce lieu de rassemblement est toujours le foyer de nombreux peuples autochtones de toute l'île de la Tortue et nous sommes reconnaissants d'avoir la possibilité de travailler dans la communauté sur ce territoire. Nous sommes également conscients des alliances brisées et de la nécessité de nous efforcer de guérir toutes nos relations. Dernier point, mais non le moindre, nous remercions les personnes d'ascendance africaine qui ont été amenées ici contre leur volonté ou à la recherche d'un endroit sûr où vivre leur vie et élever leurs enfants.
This webinar provides illustrative information with respect to the subject matter covered and does not represent an official opinion or position of the Black Business and Professional Association. The BBPA makes no representations, warranties, or guarantees as to assume no responsibility for the content or application of the material contained herein, and especially disclaim all liability for any damages arising out of the use, reference to, or lines on such material.
Good morning. All the best to you and yours this morning. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. We are here live on Community Space, the financial program, literacy program that speaks the language of the community. And we're going to start off on a different note this morning. Early to bed and early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. Be willing to be a beginner every single morning. Lose an hour in the morning and you will be hunting for it all day. It is well to be up before daybreak, for such habits continue and contribute to health, wealth, and wisdom. So these are some quotes. And why is it relevant? The guests that we have this morning have started their days in terms of business from an early age. They are young entrepreneurs. They've got startups. They've got established businesses, and they're here for you. So as we always say, tell a friend to join us here on Community Space, the financial literacy program that speaks the language of the community. And my name is Roderick Brereton. I am the host of Community Space. We also have with us today our CEO, Nadine Spencer. How are you this morning, Nadine?
I'm fantastic, Roderick. Thank you for asking. I'm really very thrilled to see these young entrepreneurs today. As you know, I started my entrepreneurial journey at 12 years old. And yeah, so I'm really excited to have Diamond, Danielle, Brendan, and I think Jay's on as well. to join today. So thank you everyone for showing up. It's so important that we gather here on Saturday mornings as we do in community space to share, learn, build, and grow from each other. So yeah, it's really great to be here, and thank you as well, Roderick, and thank you to also Kimberly for being a part of this team and for running everything smooth on the back end. So merci, thanks everyone, welcome.
And Nadine, just before we jump into our guests, we've just come off the road. We've been on almost a month road trip. Tell us a little bit about what we've been doing with BADES and all the communities that we've connected with.
Well, Roderick, we've been on the month. I don't know if it's a trip. It was a lot of work. Yeah, we've been on a tour talking about the Business Advisory Implementation Development Services pro bono program that the BBPA has to support Black entrepreneurs across the country. And, last week, for the first time, we did community space live in Nunavut. In Iqaluit, Nunavut. And we had almost 20 people in the room that was live listening and hearing about the resources that the BBPA has. And that was really an inspiring moment for us as we experienced that, just hearing from the entrepreneurs one by one what they need to support. And they felt all across the country, what we heard is that they were very thrilled that the BBPA and team, so it was the president, Ross Kadas, the treasurer, Michael Pinnock, and of course we had other supports from the BBPA. We had Rebecca, we had Cecil, and yourself that came out. So it's really been an incredible experience just hearing from the voices of Black entrepreneurs across the country. We were in Winnipeg, Manitoba, we were in Edmonton, and Saskatoon as well, and Halifax, visiting our partner Rustam Southwell and his team, the Black Business Initiative in Halifax. So it was great, and as a BBPA, we just listened. We listened to entrepreneurs across the country, and now that we've listened and we've heard, we're going to be revving up our resources to support entrepreneurs across the country.
And you're hearing it from the source. And what about the takeaways? What were people saying after they have experienced the BADES presentations that we've done?
Yeah, I think, they said a lot of things, but I think one of the most important things is that we haven't been forgotten. That's one of the words one of the entrepreneurs said, is that we haven't been forgotten. Thank you, BBPA, for recognizing that in these isolated, desolate parts in Canada, that there are Black entrepreneurs here that needs the support. And, we have already reached out to those entrepreneurs, and they're really very thrilled. And we look forward to doing more outreach in the upcoming year in 2022.
All right. So yes, thank you very much to all of the people that came out to take in the BADES presentation. Your questions, your comments, and your enthusiasm definitely is very well taken in, and we appreciate every second of your time, and we look forward to investing and not just surviving in terms of our businesses, but thriving. So yes, that's definitely something to look forward to.
But I do have one final thing to add from the tour, if you don't mind if I share. So to our audience online, I always champion embracing technology. So if you've embraced technology, you know that Zoom has filters. So there's a filter now that's putting brows on me, which I don't necessarily want today, but it's there. So when we were in Nunavut, my computer, of course, I had the filters because I didn't do my makeup that morning. And Rod's computer, he was hosting, and his computer died. So then he had to take my computer and use it to do the rest of his hosting. So as he's there doing his hosting, all his brows look just like this the entire time. So I looked over at the president, and the president is laughing like he cannot contain himself. And I just start bursting out laughing. So this is what Roderick is doing. He's sliding this way and sliding that way to see if he could get rid of the brows. And he could not. Anyway, that was really funny. That's a funny story.
That was hilarious. Yes, it was. And I think my lipstick at that time was, what was it?
It was a light pink. It was a light pink.
All right. And I had a little bit of blush on, but that's okay. That's all good. All right. So thank you very much, Nadine. And please do join in terms of the conversation, because there is obviously some connection today. And we're going to introduce our guests. So we've got some amazing young people here who've started businesses, who are in business at different stages, but we're here to edify the community and show you a little bit about what the opportunities and what the options are for, young entrepreneurs, but even entrepreneurs who are just in the pre-contemplation stage. So without further ado, we're going to introduce our guest to you. So first, we're going to start with Danielle Donaldson. She's the co-founder of Baloo Organics. They've been featured in the New York Post. They've done so much in such a short space of time. I'm going to actually let each one of the entrepreneurs give a little bit more in terms of what they're doing in the space. But ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Danielle Donaldson. Good morning, Danielle.
Hi, good morning, Roderick. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you and yours?
I'm doing really good. We're coming off of Black Friday. We're in the midst of the holiday season. We have our order cutoff tomorrow, so things are busy. They are hectic, but you know what? The busier you, especially at this time of year, it's like busy's never bad. It's like you're complaining about how tired you are, but you're like, I want to be more tired.
All right, so we're going to get into exactly what you do, Danielle, and you're going to share everything we can about Baloo Organics. And our next guest, she is a young social impact hero, as she's been described. She works within the social space in terms of changing our world, and she's got a beauty line and what not. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you and yours, Diamond Hawkins. Diamond, good morning. Long time no see. How are you this morning?
I'm great this morning. I'm based out of New York City. It's 67 degrees and rainy, so it's interesting vibrations. A little bit about me. I am Diamond Hawkins, based out of New York City. I actually have two businesses. Pathos Beauty is one of my businesses where we are an inclusive beauty and wellness marketplace, and our focus is to change the narrative on what beauty really means and build inclusive and innovative spaces that are rooted in social impact. Just like Danielle, because we're retail, it is very busy right now. I work every day, all day. Additionally, I am a project manager where I build human-centric process for technical teams, and my current client is Microsoft. So I'm super busy. I'm also an artist, and that's another arm of business. So, you know, there's tons of things. If you guys have any questions on what it's like to be a multifaceted entrepreneur, I'm definitely your girl. I look forward to chatting more about what we do and what everyone else is doing. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Of course.
And last but not least, Brandon Boyd. He's a featured speaker on Boss Talk. He's a productivity coach. He's a speaker, a podcaster, and he hails from Los Angeles, California. Good morning, Brendan. How are you this morning, my brother?
Hey, good morning. Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Happy to be here. Specifically, I help my clients, coaches, and consultants sell more, get more clients, and also build their brand authority online. So I've been doing that as well. I recently authored a book that came out about a week ago, and I'm recently launching some manifestation cards that are doing super well right now. 3 different versions to help people manifest goals, dreams, money, and also just work on their growing themselves, right? Growing their self-confidence and self-esteem and stuff like that. So those things I'm focused on. And recently I just restructured my coaching program. So I'm literally pitching new clients and getting people back into into the game with the new program. So those are the things I'm focused on right now.
All right.
Super excited to be here.
All right, so well done. And thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. And for those in the Zoom room, again, tell a friend to tell a friend right now. It's not too late to join us here on Community Space, the financial literacy program that speaks the language of the community. So let's get right into it. How did we get started? Where did the entrepreneurial dream come about? And that's even actually before we get into exactly what everybody does. So where did it come from? Where did we get our start? What sparked the want to start our own businesses? And we'll start with Diamond. Diamond.
The start, oh gosh, well, I'm Jamaican, so we always normally have tons of jobs and very entrepreneurial. I would say you know, I'm a person who likes to build. I've always been that way, always thinking of how can we make things better. I could say my first business where I sold balloons to children to help make them happier during that time. Like I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut, which is it's very close to New York City. So we were impacted by the 9/11 attacks. And I just remember so many of my friends actually having parents who were in that building. So that's where I started my first foot in business. And then it just never stopped. I always find you can monetize something, but more importantly, if you build community, you can build something. So it really started off, I would say, third grade. And then I turned to a babysitter, and then I was a makeup artist. And the next thing you know, I was working with celebrities and then building my own consulting business. And then I became an artist. And now I have like 12 jobs, and I'll probably always have 12 jobs because I actually enjoy doing so many different things. I'm a super multifaceted person. So if I don't fulfill those facets, I feel empty. So I can honestly say it started really early. My parents are entrepreneurs. My mom was a hairdresser. My dad sold cars. My grandfather had a restaurant. So I was really surrounded by so many people who had different forms of businesses. And yeah, I was a baby when it started, when I think about it. Makes sense why I'm tired.
So it's been running through the bloodstream.
Yeah, it's in the blood.
Before you entered the earth, in the sense that your family, immediate family, were entrepreneurs, and they still continue to be. And obviously, they've handed that down to you. And you know, it's interesting because one of these stereotypes of Black people is that we're not busy, we're not, you know, always working, right? And you know, it obviously just defies the lie in terms of, you know, what we actually do on that actual. So, you know, this is one of the things that we're doing here on Community Space, is defying the lies and, you know, showing the reality, showing and writing a new narrative about our not just our Black community, but obviously in this case, our young Black community who are, you know, doing more than anybody usually gets to see on, you know, the regular day-to-day basis. And then obviously TV and social media usually never show this aspect of our community. So we're here to do that. And that's what we do here every single week. All right, we're gonna jump to Brendan. Brendan, how did you get started in this, my brother? How did you find your way into business as a young person?
So excuse me. So to be honest with you, it was when I was graduating from college a while ago. And I had an interview at Reebok, which was up the street from my college. I interviewed at Reebok, and you know, I definitely wasn't qualified for the position because I was literally like, you know, freshly graduated and everything. But I was so passionate about it. I felt like I was qualified. I didn't get it, and that turned into like motivation, and I got a little angry. But that anger allowed me to create my first business, which was I solved a solution in our city of Boston, Massachusetts. There was no summer leagues. There was no summer basketball leagues. So my first business was creating basketball leagues in our city. And I did that for about 6 years. You know what I mean? And I did leagues in the summertime and in the fall. Did that for 6 years. And it was amazing because everyone came to it. It was like, you know, our version of like Rucker Park in New York. So I wanted to give that feel in the city. And literally that's where I met my first business partner, and I started my clothing line, and that was going for like 10 years. So it started off for me just like being angry at the corporate structure for like not allowing me to take a business, even though I wasn't really qualified. I felt that it should have been mine because of what I was doing on the basketball end. Like I had a lot of world experience. You know, I didn't have the paperwork, you know what I'm saying, but I had a lot of world experience that I felt would translate. And that motivated me to start my first business.
Right. In the line of work that we do, we call that assertive anger. So instead of being destructive or, you know, going into a place where we just lull in our anger and don't do anything about it, you know, in terms of seeing an opportunity and not getting it and being frustrated or whatnot, you've taken that energy and just built something amazing. So, you know, kudos to you, and kudos to Boston, Massachusetts. I actually stayed back in Boston, in Dorchester, many miles and many years ago. So yeah, that was a great experience. So yeah, a lot of love to goes to Boston. All right. And Danielle Donaldson, how did you get started within this? How did you start your aspiration? Where did those aspirations and inspirations come from to venture into business for yourself?
Well, my mom is a serial entrepreneur. She literally cannot work for another person because she's just way too smart. And so just seeing that growing up, it was definitely something that definitely resonated with me because I remember one time she was working for this food company and she didn't like that she had like really late hours and she had to be there like really early in the morning. And so she just started her own food company. And so just seeing that, being like, you know what, forget this, I'm going to do it and I'm going to do it better. I always just really loved that. And then as soon as I started working as a kid, like I wanted my first job and so I worked in retail, hated it. And then I started working in the food industry and I like that a little bit more, just because when it comes to, like tips and everything, I had that ability to not have a cap on how much I was making, which, I did in retail, but then even working in the restaurant industry, I didn't like how it was the hours that I was scheduled. I could never go overtime. If I ever wanted to change something about my work environment, I couldn't. And then as soon as I was able to, I wanted to start a business and I started retailing lashes and it failed miserably. And then the pandemic hit and I have a 2-year-old, she's 2 years old now, but I wanted her to have an activity that was a little bit more than just a toy that she was playing with. And so I noticed that it wasn't really available online. So noticing a gap in the market, I was just like, let me just make it myself and just see if there's any other parents who are having the same issue. And I had posted it up on Etsy. It's just like a baby ball pit. And so I posted it up on Etsy and then like the first day I got 5 sales and I was like, okay, no, there's something here if I'm doing this with like janky images and like a terrible product description. So we did it properly. We got proper photos, did an actual website, started working on social media and marketing. And, we've done like nearly 7 figures so far. So it's something that's taken off like extremely quickly in like the last like year and a half. So it took a while to find my thing and to find my niche and get into it. But it definitely started with watching somebody who always demanded better for themselves and just wanting the same for myself.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And since you've actually introduced us to your product, tell us a little bit about what that product is. So you use the phrase, just the ball pit. And it's just not a ball pit. I know.
It's just a baby ball pit.
And if I was small enough to jump in that ball pit, it looks like so much fun. And if I had young people, definitely, or young children, I would definitely have them in that ball pit because it's like a ball of fun. So tell us a little bit more about what that is.
Yeah, so it's an individual size baby ball pit. It fits about 2 to 3 little ones, like up to the age of 2. So we started with the ball pits. We ended up expanding to tummy time mats. We have dining sets that are launching. We have a number of other products that are launching next year. So it started with the ball pits, but we've now expanded into like a baby boutique, which is really exciting. And just being able to watch us grow. And then now I have like another little one who's like about a month old, and so it's really cool being able to launch new products that really resonate with me as a mom, and being able to introduce new products to them, and just like watching, like learn and grow with stuff that I'm creating, which is really, really cool.
All right, thank you very much. And we'll go to Brendan. So tell us about what you do, Brendan, and what that product is that you have on the market for people to buy or for sale, actually.
So excuse me, it's a coaching program. So coaches and consultants that they're having issues attaining clients, or they're having issues selling more product, or they're having issues building their brand authority. I developed a program. I call it the Daily Beast. Essentially, it's 8 secrets or 8 steps that if the client implements this into their business, they 100% grow their clientele, grow their brand authority, and also create additional streams of income. So we're talking about learning the the abilities to create speaking engagements, creating your own book, getting better at your messaging, understanding that there's really three audiences. It's not one audience. You have a cold audience, a warm audience, a hot audience. Learning better ways to convert, right? Going deeper into your existing clientele, because most people think I got to get the next client and the next client and the next client. Well, you already have relationships with existing clients. So when we start going deeper, right, have these clients spend more money with you instead of going out and fishing for the next client. Also helping them to establish email lists and text message lists, because a lot of them don't have that or don't utilize that. And that's the cornerstone to you really getting that second, third, or fourth sale. Understanding that the marketing science, right, is really showing you that it takes seven to 10, but now almost 15 to 20 touch points to get a client to convert. So how do you stay in front of them? How do you get in front of them, right? How are you leveraging your current resources to actually create omnipresence? You know what I mean? Like, how do you create omnipresence on social? How do you become that authority, right? How do they look to you for that information that most entrepreneurs should be giving away for free, but most of them have a mindset where I don't want to give away this information because then what I'm going to charge, right? So I help them to understand that as well. Like, give away your competitor's best stuff. What is your competitor charging, or what are they doing that you can literally give away that's going to create that relationship, and they're going to come back to you to pay for your stuff because you're going to waste so much value. You have, like, what are you charging? If I'm going to pay for that because what they're giving away for me is so crazy that I'm going to invest into this program or to this product or to that service. So I basically help them with that. And then also leveraging assets. So whether it be a podcast, you know, we talked about the book real quick. Now it's like NFTs, like, you know, if you're an artist or whatever case may be, recording or coaching, you have a product, you can now leverage that digital asset to create a deeper connection and also monetize in the digital space. So we help our clients with an array of different things. But just think, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not doing this stuff, what happens when you set up all of these pillars into your business? The income is going to expound astronomically, right? So we help them just install one after the other after the another, and then just grow that presence. So that's what I'm focused on.
All right, thank you very much. We're gonna take a deeper dive into that just to look and explore exactly what that means. Diamond,
A little bit
tell
more
us
about
your business.
my
Tell us
many
about,
businesses.
tell us about your many businesses.
We'll start with Pathos Beauty because that is my main business, the one that I'm driving out most. So Pathos Beauty, like I said, is an inclusive beauty and wellness marketplace. And for us, beauty is far beyond just products. So it's not just skincare and cosmetics. For us, it's about you redefining on what that means for you and building inclusive experiences. So we do a lot of things. You can consider us like your hype beast in the beauty industry and really pushing the industry to make changes to make sure people of color are at the forefront of the conversation. But more importantly, how do we keep creatives and artists in the conversations of when it comes to how we're driving and defining beauty? We've done really cool things such as gone to music festivals with some of our communities. We've had partners with great tech companies that we just wrapped up, still tired from, it was a week ago. We have things like creative marketplaces. We have shoppable live streams, one-to-one consultations where your favorite creators can work closely with their brands and really build inclusive, curated experiences. So think of us like the supreme of beauty, but changing it beyond just products, but we do sell products. So it's a lot of fun. We are in our early stages and it's growing rapidly. We have well over 400 brands who are knocking on our doors to be listed on our marketplace. So right now I'm in the space of expanding my team. Additionally to that, I am a project manager in technology where I go into tech companies like Microsoft. I just wrapped up a project with data and I help them build better human-centric processes to work internally that then affects the way that their end user is accepting the product. It's a lot of fun. It's that person. I'm like a filter. So I go in and I take in all the technical information and I spit it out in a more human way. And then I am also in the process of minting all of my art pieces into NFTs. And that is interesting. It's fun. We have a podcast that's launching on Pathos. So lots of different things right now. Yeah, if you're interested in inclusive beauty, or if you're interested in showcasing what you're doing, we do have a place for you at Pathos Beauty. It's all about access. It's all about sharing other people's stories, giving them the platform to talk about what they're doing, where they're going, and how can we showcase it with other people. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything else. It's a
All
lot of
right, all
things.
right. Yeah, definitely. So we've got a good understanding of what everybody
Yeah.
does. So, question, and we'll start with Brendan. What does it take to do what you do? Like, what are some of the fundamentals that you have to be having at, you know, as soon as you wake up, or that have been with you to get done what you've done, and what you actually what you're going to continue to do in the future? What are some of those things, like personal pillars that you have to allow you to
Oh
do?
yeah, that's a great question. So I mean, that's definitely one of the things that I teach. So I'm a productivity coach first. One of the programs that I also have is called the Winner Circle, right? And that really helps entrepreneurs, or anyone really, but it helps you, like, get the most out of your day, be the most productive. So if you ask me what I do during, to get right, in what I kind of encourage people to do is, first thing, wake up an hour or so earlier. In my case, I wake up at 4. I feel like I have to wake up at 4 minimum, because I'm on the West Coast, right? I'm in LA, so that's 7 on the East, right? So I'm already technically behind, because if I lived in Boston still, I'd be up at 5, right? So you gotta wake up early, and then with that time, utilize that for yourself. You need to pour into yourself. So for me, that's reading every single day. I got my book right here. Last year I read 86 books, just with a simple strategy that I use. So read every day. Make sure you're monitoring what you're pouring into your senses, right? What are you listening to? What are you reading? Who's around? I hit the gym. I pray, meditate, affirmations. I journal. There's certain things I journal every single day. I got a vision board, so I touch that. I got additional affirmations. So I have an affirmation list in my phone that I take with me. It's mobile, but I have additional affirmations, things that I'm speaking to existence, that are like in my room, but then also in my living room, right on my door before I leave the house, things like that. Oh, so the strategy, Nadine just asked, the strategy I use for book reading that allows me to consume a lot of books and information at a rapid pace. I'll call it 20-20. So basically, I read 20 minutes of a real book minimum, and then 20 minutes of an audio book. I do that every single day. And if you just do that simply every single day, you're going to consume information at a rapid pace. Another hack you can do is I like to reprogram my mindset, because what I noticed, like right now, I'm in my car, I'm in my Tesla right now, right? The Tesla is charging, right? Most people are not charging and updating every single day. What they're doing is they're around different technologies. The technology is getting smarter and improving, but they're not, right? So I like to use that little anecdote to just show people, okay, you should be getting smarter and improving every single day. So the 20-20 is a definitely way to do it. As far as a hack, our conscience blocks our subconscious. So the best way to reprogram your subconscious is like when you're sleeping. So if you put on something intentional while you're sleeping, your conscience is dormant, and you can absorb all that information into your subconscious, which really rules our bodies, right, in our minds. So it could be, some gospel, some TD Jakes. It could be like Eric Thomas has a bunch of amazing content. It could be Eric Thomas. It could be different frequencies. It could be different sounds. It could be ocean sounds. It could be rainwater. It could be whatever. Like, so if you listen to certain things while you're going to sleep, that's going to help to get your mind in a proper state that it needs to be. You wake up, you can start taking on the day. And then also pay attention to who's around, right? Who are the 5-6 people that are most accessible to you, and start really discerning, okay, am I talking to this person and it's going off into a tangent, or is this person pouring into me? Am I pouring into them? Is that something that is this person somebody that should have close to me? Monitor text messages and phone calls when they come through. Does someone call and you're like, oh, I know what this call is going to be? Or do you get a text, you're like, oh, I know what this text is going to be, and decide not to respond to those? Because if I pick up this phone, that's 45 minutes. We're going to be talking about nothing, right? So really pay attention to where we're intentionally putting our time in. Have a proper morning routine. have a proper evening routine, and just be really, really intentional. So those are things I do to get right. Now I encourage most of my clients and consultants to I give them my version. I give them a version that they can implement, but I say, hey, make it your own, or figure out a version of this that works for you, implement it, and be consistent.
Wow, that was so much to take in, and so many great gems that you just dropped there, my brother. It was incredible. And I just think about, if we were to have this as our quote unquote stereotype for Black males across, North America, where would we be in terms of just our mindset and just our positioning as specifically Black males in this hemisphere, right? I mean,
well, one thing I'm working on a curriculum. I'm not actively working on it because I got a bunch of things I'm working on, but that's one of the next projects, and I'm gonna make it for high school students, and then make a version for elementary. Not elementary, middle. So those are gonna be like the next thing, because exactly to your point, like, I didn't have this. If I had this when I'd be in a whole different space, right? So it's extremely important. And a lot of us that look like us, we come from the single parent or the no parent, So it's extremely important to have something that you can build up that self-confidence and that self-esteem in that belief that you're powerful and important, and that you matter. And that has to come from the inside first, right? And if you can develop that when you're 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, it's going to be incredible impact on your life when you're late 20s, 30s, 40s.
You might even want to consider elementary, my brother, like, again, from kindergarten, because, as soon as young people or young persons are able to absorb information, right? You start learning right from the womb, literally, right? So, we've done actually some studies within the elementary school system and incorporating, for instance, conflict management. And, once, a 4-year-old knows, how to manage their anger or impulse, it obviously continues to grow and manifest as they go through the different grades and whatnot. So I think, that regiment, that discipline that you just, in terms of explaining to us, it's something that earlier that we do it, and especially in our communities, the better I think it will be. And you mentioned so many things in there, and I just want to touch on one last thing. So those positive affirmations that you say you've got, in your home, or, as you go and come, how important are those, and what would you encourage people to do if they want to start something like that?
Affirmations are extremely important. Like, I'll give you an example. So I went to the Kanye and Drake concert the other day, right? Now, I'm in a place, I don't really listen to music like that because I monitor what I put into my mindset, right? But I was at this concert's like 2 hours. So, you get the vibe, you catch the feeling. After that, what do you want to do? I want to listen to more of that music. Then the next morning, I'll listen to a little bit more. So now, when you're just out and about talking to friends, the melodies is in your mind. And now you're like running a verse, or you're running a chorus, or you're catching something that was in the song, and you're saying it out loud, because you know how we are. We take things for everything, and then we literally take a movie clip or a song, and then we put it in real life. That's what we do. So if you're doing that with music, and the majority of the time, the music that we're listening to, the vibes and the frequencies are put on words that these lyrics aren't really doing anything positive for us, but the rhythms and the frequency and the vibes, like, they speak to us, because that's how we communicate. Well, if you're doing that with information that's negative, or it's information that's not really serving, that's what's consuming, that's what's ruling your subconscious. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So if you now are reading a book, put it in an audio book, listen to some motivation, listen to some inspiration, listening to other type of frequencies, those are the things that you are now going to be putting into real life, unbeknownst to you, right? So it's extremely powerful that you monitor what you're putting in your mindset, what you're, being able to be influenced by, who's around you, right? So it's extremely important. So, like I said, reading books. So somebody asked me, I guess it kind of depends, what you're into, but two really good books they're about money, but not really about money, because it's more so about the mindset. I would say the 10 pillars of wealth. And I actually have a free link. I'll put the link in the chat. It's an amazing book. It's PDF. I see you the ebook. The 10 Pillars of Wealth is an amazing book. Like I said, I'll drop the link. There's another book called The 1 Minute Millionaire. That's an amazing book. 10 Pillars of Wealth is going to teach you the 10 principles of how you should think to develop or manifest certain things, right? And then 1 Minute Millionaire is really teaching you about leverage, the power of leverage. And it basically tells a story from the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere of her brain. So tactics, and then obviously a story of how, you know, this woman lost her kids and she needed to make $1 million in 90 days. How could she do it? She wasn't even working, right? So it's in those two books I would recommend. Those are like, literally, I tell my clients, like, you got to read these two books before we do anything. So I would recommend those two books. Yeah, and just, you know, I was on live the other day and I gave 3 tips. I was like, you know, either stop listening to music or choose a day that I'm not doing the music. Stop watching Netflix and Hulu all the time, or choose a day to stop watching Netflix and Hulu, right? And then literally, who are you around? It's so important. Who you're around, right? So monitor, maybe choose a day. I'm not engaging with people today, because it's hard for people to go from being super social, listening to music all the time and watching Netflix all the time, to like not doing any of that. So start with one day, like Thursdays. I'm not gonna do none of this, and then just let it proceed. You know what I mean?
All right. Excellent points, my brother. Excellent points. So thank you very much for that. Diamond, what does it take for you? What do you do to make sure that you are able to function at your highest?
Yeah, so I'll take you roughly through like what my days start like and what those elements that are important for me. So I wake up at 6 a.m. every day, and I don't talk to usually a single human being until noon. I've set my life up in a way where those first 6 hours of my day are dedicated to myself. That looks like meditation. That looks like, sometimes I listen to music. Sometimes I don't do jack shit. It just really depends on like, what does my spirit need before I have to fill my cup before I pour it out to other people. Because I have one of those jobs where, well, of my many jobs where I'm a lot of output, lots of talking, lots of organizing, project managing, ideation, visionary, being an implementer, doing a lot of different things. So I truly believe that I need to pour into my own cup before I pour into others. But to make sure I'm highly functional, I am big on nutrition. So the first thing in the morning, like I make sure I get all of my vitamins. I check in to see how my spirit's doing. Like I think it was 2 days ago, I woke up the grumpiest human being, and it took me all day to kick it. And that was a day where I didn't listen to anything. So I do information detoxes. So I don't listen to anything. I don't talk to anyone. I don't text anyone. I don't go anywhere. And I just use that time to really figure out what's going on with Diamond. But also for me to function my best, there's times where there's no information intake. I work out. I think it's very important that, like Brendan said, pay attention to the people who are in your circle. I'm going through a season right now of growth. So my circle's changing naturally. Lots of reading. I lead everything with spirit first. How is Diamond feeling? Because if her human is not being taken care of, how can she pour into any business? I take information from others with a grain of salt that helps me also be my best self. I have 100 plants, and I take time to really slow down. I think as an entrepreneur, we live in a hustle culture where it's about go, 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 go. And one point of advice that I feel like we don't get is like, how do you go, go, go on yourself to check to make sure that you feel right? Spending time with family is so important, being really organized in a way that works best for me. When I read, it's not so much about business, it's more about spirit and self-help, because I truly believe that I have everything I need within myself. But if I don't check my spirit, I can't build anything else. And if I'm not well in myself, that affects how I work with other people. And just being a continuous learner. I take days out of the week, like for example, today's Saturday, so it's a bit slower. I don't work today, but I will read. I will read majority of the day, and I'll clean up after myself, or I'll go exploring and get inspired by other things. And again, in order for me to be my best self, I look at what are those facets. And the main question that I ask myself every day is, how do I want this to feel? So sometimes my business is growing so fast and I feel like it's growing around me and I'm just kind of in the middle and there's a tornado going around me. And then I have to pause and say, how do I want this to feel, and recurate what that experience feels like for me. Being mindful of consumption is really important. Not being the smartest person in the room and asking for help when you need that. But I can say honestly, Roderick, the most important thing that has helped me to be my best self is knowing when I need to say no, to check myself.
Yes.
To check myself. And more importantly, scheduling pockets of joy, because joy can really get away from you. So in my schedule, I literally put out time. It's like joy time and nothing else is allowed. I don't care if the world is on fire. I'm going to go do what I want to do during that period. And I have found that has helped me exponentially. And my art is something that also helps me be my best self because it allows me to have an outlet. I am a person that my brain goes a lot all the time. And my art allows me to slow it down. And I go to a lot of concerts and music festivals. And I find that also helps resets me. But as an entrepreneur, I start seeing that a music festival is a marketplace. Then I start thinking about how I'm going to make my own music festival. Then I got to leave because I'm just like, that's not that balance. But I can honestly say as an entrepreneur or someone who has multifaceted, the best advice that I can give you is to ask yourself the question, how do I want this to feel? But more importantly, if you can take those first few hours in each of your day to dedicate to yourself, like you do not need to wake up and start answering emails. Like it's okay. You're not saving anyone's life. You're not a doctor. Like you don't have to answer these things. And your mental health is most important. And like I really push for Black entrepreneurs, invest in your mental health, please, before you do anything else, because you can have 12 businesses, but if you don't check your mental, everything's going to crash.
Yes.
And it's okay to also know that all your days are not going to be great. That's normal, but those are also spaces for growth. So when you have those days where it's like, okay, my business is not growing, or this part of my business is moving too fast, it's okay to take a break. And guess what? That's a space for innovation, ideation. But most importantly, when I get those pockets where I feel like my business is not growing in the way that I want to, it's usually because there's something in Diamond that I need to check. Because we can make millions of dollars, but if I'm not enjoying that process, it doesn't matter.
Thank you very much.
Please take care of your mental health, please.
Self-care, my dear, 100%.
Yeah.
If we're not grounded or neutralized in self, it's going to be hard to work with anything else, including customers and growing our business. So thank you very much for those literal gems, Diamond, literally 100%. Danielle, to yourself, what does it take to do you? What does it take to be the entrepreneur that you are?
I feel like the biggest piece there is just awareness. I'm coming off of, just having a baby and pregnancy and everything. And I had messaged my partner the other day that I felt like myself for the first time in a long time. And over like the last year, I didn't realize that I wasn't feeling like myself. I was kind of just like really into pregnancy, really into work, really into the business and like everything at home. And so I think it's really important to just take a step back and have that awareness piece. I think like a key thing that, Diamond and Brendan are talking about is, they read a lot. And I think that we do like a lot of media consumption when it comes to like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat and stuff like that. But those platforms, like they're built so that you have like 10 seconds of interacting with something and then you go to the next. And so when we have such a short attention span with things, I think it's hard to really sit back and look at ourselves, look at our businesses, look at our, like everything going on in our lives and just really be aware, because we're constantly being distracted and we're constantly like having like really short things coming into our lives and just heading right back out. So I think that it's not even necessarily about cutting things out. Like you don't even necessarily need to say, I'm going to stop going on TikTok. I'm going to stop going on Instagram. I think it's more about adding things in, like, okay, I'm going to do exactly what I'm doing. I'm just going to read an extra book. Because also when you're spending your time differently, like you're not going to have the time to be doing different things. So I think that like period of slowing down is really important. again, like I'm recently now like a mom of two. So I'm just finding like my new norm. Like I'm finding a new balance. And so for me, it's never like fully equal. Like sometimes I'm like work, kids, family, and things like that. So for me, it's just even when things are, you know, tipping the scales in either side, it's just that awareness piece. You know, do I need to, you know, compress from work? Do I need to, you know, take a minute as, you know, just like a person who's not running a business, who's not a mom, like how do I like realign back within myself and figure out what it is that I need? So in being able to speak to that, like I have like next week I have like 2 days where it's like I have a sitter coming and I'm going to go to like a space where I have like no distractions and I just really want to focus on like my goals. I find like writing things down is so important. Like I'm very much a firm believer of like having like a physical agenda book for the year and like actually having like your notebooks and things like that. And like, because I feel like when you write them down, they're just starting to become real. Like it's actually like taking like place like in physical form. Like, so that's just step one. And I find that whenever I've written things down, like even things like your financial goals, like I was telling Brendan this the other day, like I like to write out checks for the next year as to how much I'm going to make and by what day, because oddly enough, like I find that it works. I don't know if it's just something where it really is just like manifestation. The universe sees that there's $100,000 in my wallet and a check and it wants to put $100,000 in my bank account. But I just find that just writing it down makes it real, and that's a really important piece. And you know, see, this is what I say about balance, is that like I'm like work and kids.
All right.
You just like let me come and play. But yeah, so just find balance, but also just find like what works for you and slow down, because when you're running a mile a minute, you like Diamond was saying, you don't really get to enjoy it. And what's the point of, you know, finding success if you don't really get to enjoy it? I find like a part of that is the journey and the process. So just slow down, find your balance, always be learning, recognize that you don't know everything, and be willing to learn what you don't know, and also be aware of like just know what you don't know and just actively work towards that. And yeah, that's
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. So one thing, one common denominator that I've taken from all of you is that you live for your work versus working for a living, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if that would be safe to say, I would love to hear from you in the sense of the difference between working for a living and living for your work. What do you guys think in that regard? Do you live for your work? Actually,
well, living for your work is you enjoy what it is that you do. It's not like, oh, I have to go work. Like, it's funny, like entrepreneurs are really funny because they're the only people who will like quit a 9 to 5 and working 40 hours a week just to work 400 hours a week. It's just, but it's really different, because I think that when you work for somebody else, it's like you do all this work, you put in all this effort, and you're really building up like this corporation or this like other organization. And it's like you're like they'll only appreciate you to a certain extent. Whereas like when you work for yourself, or like when you have like a great partnership and you and someone else are working towards, you know, a common goal, you both get to reap what you sow, and exactly the amount of work you put into it is exactly what you get back from it. And that's definitely like a key piece to me, because, you know, when you just work for a living, it's you have like that glass ceiling. I hate it. I absolutely hate that glass ceiling where you're capped at, regardless of how much effort and energy and, you know, love you put into something. It's you only receive like so much appreciation and, you know, so much, you know.
All right, thank you very
whatever.
much for that.
Yeah.
All right, we'll skip to Brendan in terms of that same thing. Do you live for your work or do you work for a living?
I definitely live for the work. I mean, I'm really passionate about helping people. I've always been. I've done that like in through different mediums, right? Like when I had a clothing company, it was like, okay, serving these clients and like, you know, creating products that they could really take and implement in their lives and like see how it would take shape. You know, it's their favorite hoodie or their favorite sweatpants or t-shirt or whatever the case may be. To then real estate, right? Like helping people buy and sell homes, you know, helping people that didn't even have a mindset that they could actually own a spot and just take them through that journey. I have a couple examples of like, you know, single moms that I helped that just didn't believe that they can own a house, you know, just her son or her daughter. And, you know, I helped them do that. So that was extremely, made me feel good on the inside. But then now being able to have a deeper impact, coaching, it definitely fulfills me, because like I can see in my clients that the changes that they're having, and the transformations that they're having on the personal side, and then also in their career, and in their businesses. So I'm extremely passionate about that, because it's like, okay, how can I improve? What programs can I take? What retreats can I go on? What books can I read? What YouTube videos can I watch? Who can I learn from? And then take all of that, filter through it, and just give them all the gems, like cross all the bridges, to make it a shorter distance for them, and just give it to them. And that keeps me extremely filled up on the inside, and it makes me happy. So I definitely live for the work that I do, and I want to constantly improve and provide a higher value of services and experience.
Thank you very much for that, Brendan. Diamond, yourself, living for the
Me.
work?
Well, I like to say it like, and I put it in the chat, but I always say I build my business around my life, not my life around my business. Because for me,
Drop that one more time. Drop that one more time.
Build your business around your life, not your life around your business. Do not be a slave to your business. I became an entrepreneur because, like Nadine, I don't like working for other people. And I just had to build my own pathways, because for me, I am trying to get the most out of my human experience. It's not about, okay, what recognition am I getting? If I recognize myself, that's all that matters. I could care less what anybody else says. So again, all the things that I do affords me the space in the life that I enjoy to get a better understanding of myself. So yeah, I would say that I build my life in a way where my work gives me the things that I need to explore who Diamond is and what that looks like for me. Not the other way around, because that's just draining. I'm a habitual job quitter, so it doesn't quite work out so well. I will quit a job in 3 weeks. I've done it before. I don't work in offices with other people. I know myself very well. I know that I can work 100 hours a week, but majority of it better be making me happy. And if it's not, it's gotta go, because I'm gonna die anyway. So I might as well enjoy it.
They say YOLO, right? You only live
Yeah.
once. You got to make the best of it, right? Absolutely, 100%. I totally believe in that. Right. So in the day-to-day work that you do, marketing obviously has got to be very, very important, just based on you expanding your customer base, allowing people to know what you do. So what does your marketing look like? How does that, how is that, I guess, in the sense of placed within your business format? How important is that marketing for yourselves? We'll start with Brendan.
Marketing is extremely important. I mean, kind of like I mentioned earlier, I feel like you need to have an omnipresence, right? I feel like you need to show up in front of your customers as much as you can, everywhere that you can. And I think it should be a strategy that is gonna involve organic and also paid, right? People feel like, I don't want to pay for this, I don't want to pay for that, but we are inundated with advertisements from every business. From as soon as we open our eyes, right, we're getting ads, text message, email, social media, radio, playlists. So if you look at your business in that regard, why wouldn't you also want to be, sending out those type of messages and connecting with your clients? Also think owning a platform that you can control, so you can start getting, your messaging out to other audiences easily. Like Diamond mentioned, having a podcast, right? So I have 2 podcasts. So having a podcast is amazing because you can leverage that so crazy, right? So you can bring different guests on. Like I can have Danielle on my podcast instantly. That's going to introduce me to her audience, and it's going to allow me to give her other assets that she can continue to promote the podcast after it goes out, right? And it is evergreen, so it might be hot when it first drops, it might catch fire 6, 7, 8, 9 months later, right? So it has that has a bandwidth that can exist. You can put that on YouTube. It could be on the podcast platforms. Like there's so many different things you can do with that, and you own that platform. So if Instagram goes down, like it did, like a month and a half ago, whatever, you can still connect to your audience, right? Because you own that platform. So, and then that's another leverage piece. So like Diamond can then put, commercials about her business inside of her platform, inside her podcast. So then they have to run into it in the beginning, in the middle, and the end. Like, same thing with Danielle. She can make, the actual physical commercials for the YouTube version. She can make the audio commercials for, the audio version of the podcast. Like you can super leverage the asset that you're building to then connect with your audience and also sell and promote and market your products and services. So marketing is extremely important. And I don't think entrepreneurs should shy away from understanding marketing. I mean, marketing is really just relationships and messaging. So you have relationships and you message, you communicate with people every single day. So to feel like it's something that you don't want to get involved in, or because it's, it's labeled as marketing, you may feel like it's a big thing. You're doing it on a daily basis anyway. You're just looking at it in a totally different light. So it's extremely important for entrepreneurs to understand, that communication aspect and how you're able to leverage, communicate, and get your message out there, and own the platform, but then also like be guests on other platforms. Like my book just came out last Monday. I got like a 12-step marketing campaign for that. So it's not just the book comes out and it's like click the link in my bio. Well, so okay, what is the strategic plan that you put together to get you in front of more people and make more people aware that this is out, right? And most people, you may have your target audience, maybe it's a couple hundred or maybe a few thousand people that rock with you, that think what you do is great. Well, guess what? There would be 100,000 other people that probably feel the same way if they just knew that you existed, if they just knew where they could find like that you provide the solution to the thing, right? So how do you get in front of them? Leverage, marketing, messaging, so it's extremely important. So that's what I would say.
Thank you very much for that. Marketing for you, Diamond, what does that look like, and how do you go about that intentionally?
I think for me, it's very different. Like I go through seasons. Like right now, I'm slowing down. Marketing is really organic, no paid marketing right now, just because with marketing, you grow because there's more eyes in front of more things, and it does impact your personal life. And now there's people all in my life. So I'm trying to organize this. But right now I sit on a lot of podcasts. Again, I just want to go back to the point where Brendan said, it's like a lot of times people get confused about what is marketing. They think of it like this corporate strategic thing, and it can be strategic, but just the baseline of how I understand marketing is you are getting your product or yourself in front of other people's eyes. Whatever means that means you're getting your product or yourself in front of other people to see it, right? So organic, like sitting on podcasts, I sit on tons of podcasts. I also like talking, so it just makes it easy for me, or find those mediums that you enjoy. So I get introduced to their community, and their community gets introduced to my community. I love sitting on panels like this one and talking about my journey because I get to connect with our community. I know I'm a part of tons of Slack channels, and that's a great way of marketing where I'm talking to other people about what they're building. Going to other events, supporting other people, that is also marketing your own personal brand as well as your brand. And one piece that I want to say, and I did not realize this in my own business, and I want to share with you guys when it comes to marketing, market your personal brand and your business simultaneously. I was marketing my business and forgot about my personal brand. And then I was stressed out because I did not understand why so many people were like looking at me. And it's because they want to know who is building the thing. So build those simultaneously. And it really does help you grow on both sides of it. But it's so important because if you don't talk about your product or what you're doing or who you are, your services, how are people going to know?
Absolutely.
And most importantly, when you are marketing, especially when it comes to yourself, be authentic. Like, just be yourself. Like, you do not have to become Gary Vee. You do not have to be Lisa Nichols. Like, be yourself. And that's the most, I think for so long, I was afraid of speaking and doing all these different things because I was trying to market myself in the way that I saw the people that inspired me. And that just became a whole clusterfuck. So I found that when I am myself and marketing what I believe in, what I'm doing, that has been giving me this exponential growth that is most like, I don't even have words for what it has done. It has allowed me and afforded me to walk into spaces that I probably never would have walked into, but I was able to be authentic. And taking courses online like Skillshare, and don't sleep on TikTok. There's a lot of information about marketing on TikTok that can help you grow whatever you're doing. Marketing is so important. Like, even if you're taking a 9-to-5 job, your resume is a form of marketing for you. And it's a storytelling about what you're doing and what you can offer. And your Instagram, it can just be a blog, but it's a form of marketing who you are and how people can touch point of what you're doing and where you're going, or your hobbies. Like, if you want to showcase the things that you're doing, you're interested in, like, you have to show it. It's like, what is the saying? If a tree falls in a forest and no one's there, did it make a sound? It's the same thing about if you're building anything. If you're not talking, how are people supposed to know what you're doing? But again, grow your personal brand at the same time. Don't wake up one day and be like, oh my God, what's going on?
All right. Thank you very much. And Danielle, you grew up in a marketing household. What does that look like for you now as a business owner? How do you market?
Marketing is quite literally everything. Like even us just sitting here, like, this is marketing. The fact that, like, you know, like Brendan's in the car, like Diamond's like chilling on the couch is like part of like our like brands and like coming to market is the fact that like we're here, we're on this call, we really want to share some information, but as soon as we're done, we got work to get back to. Like, we can't, like, I can't be like sitting like doing like full on hair and makeup for the morning. Like I have like holiday season, like things to go pack up and social media strategies to go start putting together. So it's quite literally everything. But I think in the grandeur of it all, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be overwhelming. It can be just so nice and simple, because, you know, even you like not doing marketing, like that's still marketing. And like Diamond was saying, like, incorporate your personal brand. You know, there's a reason why when people get upset with companies, you know, customer service reps are like, I'm not the one who did you dirty. Like, it's just what it is. Like, people like to have like a personal connection. And if it's the person who can make like the actual like impact in like whatever it is that like the issue is, or whatever it is that like they want to, you know, do, like, I think that that's such a key component, because when people know that like I'm like, I own my business and I show up to like the photo shoots, you know, like we end up creating a connection. Like, they want to support me, they want to support my business, and so like they promote me to like my business, like their friends and their families, and, you know, we get bumps on like the holiday seasons, which is amazing. So I think that that's like also like not necessarily a really overused strategy that people implement. But again, it doesn't need to be huge, because it's exhausting trying to be somebody else. So just be yourself, just talk more. Just like, you know, even if you want to come on camera and you're like, I hate being on camera, but I really want to meet some of you, I really want to introduce myself, this is my business. Like, you'll get more comfortable. Like, even if you start being like, kind of like, you know, like, I'm here, like, hello, eventually you get to, this is my business, we grew, you know, like 10 times this year, like all that stuff, like you'll get into it. So marketing is essentially, I think, just finding your flow, always be learning, always be having conversations, you know, with people about, you know, different things and what's working and what's not working. But it definitely needs to be a continuous conversation, because trends in marketing are always changing, and they're changing quickly too. So just make sure that you have like, you know, a good group of people like who you can be learning from. I know that they had already spoken about it earlier, but just like watch your circle, watch people who you have around you. If you just have like fun friends all the time, like, who are you learning from? You know, you need to have like a circle of people that you're learning from. So make sure that you do have, you know, like those resources as well, and just constantly be working at it, because, you know, you'll find what works for you, and then you'll have to find what works for you again.
Yeah, great points there, Danielle. And I really think that one thing that you touched on, and that circle of friends, and, you know, that circle, often what I find, especially with young people, you know, they've got their circle, and, you know, that's their circle. They're not really thinking about expanding that circle. But as we know, a circle can grow, right? Yeah. And, you know, we don't necessarily always have to know the same streets. There's a lot more that we can explore and discover, but we've got to be prepared. And we also have to be, one of the other things that I heard from everybody is that your ability to pivot, right? So on that note, how do we take on challenges? Because every business has challenges. Every business has, as Diamond said, sometimes, it's not just a straight road. It may not be just the incline going up vertically. How do we take on those challenges as business people, as entrepreneurs? And what are some of those principles that you could share with our audience? And we'll start with Diamond. Sorry.
I actually won an award recently with an agency for pivoting.
All right. And
so,
talk about, as we go into how you take on those challenges, what is pivoting to you? I guess it's almost a two-tiered question now.
It's almost second nature at this point. But pivoting for me is having the ability to change course rapidly when you need to, but strategically. Or sometime when something just doesn't feel right, like being able to change course and not holding on to the original thing, like giving yourself and whatever you're building the ability and the freedom to change its form if needs to. So when I'm facing challenges or have the need to pivot, like again, when we're retail, in retail, things change by the day. It's you had a plan for the next 3 months on what you were going to do, but the market had a different plan from what you thought you were going to do. And now you have to change your business model and all these things have to happen. You have to be flexible, be so disciplined enough that you are okay to be flexible to make changes and know, again, like Danielle said earlier, you don't know everything and be open to learning new things. I learned how to pivot so well because I didn't have a choice. When I graduated from graduate school, no one would hire me. So I had to consistently pivot because I had bills to pay. So I had to learn how to just make changes and be okay with the changes and be comfortable in myself to know that I'm going to bet on Diamond and Diamond's always going to be good. So when you face challenges, I love challenges when I see them, especially in my business. They're for me new pockets of ways that I can now innovate something new. And in my business, I had like one idea and then it became this entire like technical platform for beauty. That was never the plan. But now, because we were open to pivoting and we're flexible to new changes, it's become this business that I've never dreamed of having, and I'm so grateful to being a part of it. And I'm so grateful that this entity came to me to build. But challenges are good. I'll give you an exact example so you guys can connect to, like my business, we started off with a wholesale model, and that started to become very challenging for us. It was just very capital intensive at the front. I was more excited about the technical components that we're building for a retailer. Took some time to slow down and realize what is the true North Star of what we're trying to do and where we're going. And now we've changed our business to a drop shipping model. Since we changed our business to a drop shipping model, it went from us sourcing brands, us only having 9, to I have to bring on 3 new people to help me manage the 400 brands that are knocking on my door to be on our platform. But we had to be okay with pivoting. It is so important, not only for you and your personal life, in your business, to be so disciplined enough that you're flexible. And a lot of times we forget that flexibility is so important. Just remember your North Star, regardless of what you're doing. That's it. Now, how you get there, you'll figure it out. And that's where that journey.
Follow that North Star.
Yeah. And that journey is important. Like, enjoy that journey.
So we're going to go to Danielle. In terms of challenges, how do we take on those challenges? What are some strategies to get over and to conquer what comes before us?
I have a love-hate relationship with challenges, but I guess the best example I can use is recently we got into an issue with our shipping company. We were using DHL, and we ended up going and looking at UPS just because like the issue has been like just so like long standing. And we ended up finding that with UPS, our shipping rates end up being half of what they were with DHL. the amount of money that we have spent in shipping over, like the way our pricing works, we used to absorb a portion of the cost of shipping for our customers because we didn't want shipping costs to be astronomical. And then now we're at a point where actually we are profiting off of what people pay for shipping. So we're going to end up readjusting our numbers in the new year. But had we not gotten into that issue with DHL, we never would have known that we would have been actually more profitable and being able to readjust our sales strategy in the new year. We can offer free shipping to the US. People hate paying for shipping. They absolutely hate paying for shipping. So the fact that we can even offer that is great. But I think that the key thing there is that the only thing that is permanent in your business is your taxes as soon as you file them. Everything else is, you can change. Everything else is, uncooked. So you're fine. You can keep it going. So I just think that it's just be open-minded. Again, always be researching, always be having conversations with people. And just, again, like watch the people who you have around you. Because if you have like other fellow entrepreneurs who are also always learning, you're going to be sharing like tips and tricks and trade secrets that either one of you aren't picking up on otherwise. So just always be receptive to new information and be willing to understand that you don't know everything and that there is always a better way to do what it is that you're doing. You're never going to have the best. There's always a better way. But also do your research, make your decision, and be happy with it. And then also just be receptive to change in the future.
Beautifully said. Thank you very much for that, Danielle. And Brendan, challenges when they present themselves to you, what is your strategy to deal with those?
I mean, to be honest, man, both the women that we have on a panel, they said it so eloquently. So there's not much that I can do to differentiate what Danielle and Diamond said. But two key points I would say. One of the main things I would take home for what Diamond said is like being flexible, right? So being flexible, I think, is huge. So definitely like be flexible when obstacles come. Danielle talked about always be learning, right? So if you're flexible and you're always learning, when obstacles come, you're going to take those on as challenges, right? So we're not looking at them as like, oh, I wasn't expecting this. This is going to throw off the whole situation. You should be looking at them like, oh, this is exciting because once I learn this, how to get over this or provide a solution, that means other people have this same problem. So I can solve that for them. This is a tremendous opportunity. And then you're improving, in real time. And obstacles keep you sharp. So I would just really echo to what, the sentiments that both they mentioned, the flexibility, always be learning, look at obstacles as blessings and positive things for you to get over. Because once you learn and master that could be a book, that could be a checklist, that could be a lead magnet. You can coach other entrepreneurs on the same thing. You could document that. So I think those are all positive things when they come. So I mean, I guess the only other thing I would add was just be adaptable too. I think flexible adaptability and always be learning are probably like really huge when it comes to challenges coming at you.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And right now, time is flying. So we're going to take some questions from the Zoom room. So if you've got questions, please put them in the chat, or you can come on live and ask your questions with our guests today, our young entrepreneurs. So if there's questions, now's the time. There's no time like the present. And if we don't have any right yet, I'm going to continue asking questions because I think we're getting a lot of information here today, and hopefully people are documenting it, and we'll come back actually and watch it thereafter. So if you've got any questions, just raise your hand and we can have you on live. Okay. All right. So another question. So competition, there's always some other business that is ready to, consume what you're doing or to knock you off your space. How do you stay on top of your competition, or how do you run alongside your competition? What does that look like? We'll start with you, Danielle.
I think competition is great because if you didn't have it, you would probably not be always looking to do better. And so it's definitely healthy, I think. And I think that the key thing that you just said is that you don't necessarily need to be on top, but definitely like running alongside each other, because, that's definitely what keeps you both like pushing forward and wanting to always improve and just wanting to be the best at what it is that you're doing. If you didn't have that, you would, and the only person you could compare yourself to was yourself. You'd always just be trying to do what you did better last year. But if anything, I think that learning piece would be a little bit harder because, again, you only know what you know, and you always have to be looking for what you don't. And if somebody else at least knows something that you don't, and you like see it, then it's like, okay, like that's great. Like, I don't think there's anything bad about competition. I think it's great.
So you just mentioned a key point. So do we compete with ourselves? Like, for instance, if our sales are X and we want to get them to Y, do we compete with ourselves? Is that something that we do as entrepreneurs too?
Absolutely. I'll look at my sales from last year and I'm like, if they're not, mind you, I think it's different for small businesses. Like when you're comparing yourself like year over year, but you're only like 3 years in business, like of course you should be growing. I think as soon as you're at like the 20-year mark, I think you can ease up on yourself a little bit as to, you know, like, oh, my sales should be double. Well, if they've been doubling for like 19 years, like I think you can only go so far. But I definitely think that, you know, it is good to be in competition with yourself, because I think that also, I think you improve in like certain areas. Like, I think that, you know, if last year you were only making like 50,000 for the year and you were paying your employees like minimum wage, but this year you're doing like 400,000. Well, like, your employees can probably be making more than minimum wage because, you know, they're a part of that growth, and, you know, you probably want to compensate them properly. So I think that it comes down to, you know, doing better for yourself, but also doing better for your company, for your employees, maybe even for your suppliers. Maybe if you've been working with another small business and you've had to be getting like super great margins from them, like now you can probably ease up on it like a little bit, because, you know, I think as like small business owners also, like we try to like escape from like that like huge corporate, you know, capitalistic culture mindset where it's like everything has to be done so cheap to yield the highest amount of profits. It's like you gotta just want to be doing what it is that you're doing and be doing a great job at it and be making money from it. And like when you eat, everybody else eats. And so just keeping that piece going.
Okay, thank you very much. And we'll jump to Brendan in terms of that competition, external and internal competition. How do you go about that?
So again, like, you know, Danielle hit on some key points there. I think it's important to, you know, have a level of competition within yourself to improve, you know, every single month. Obviously you want to look back, hey, what did I do last year? But even like, what did I do in November? You know, how can I improve for December? How can I improve in January? Things like that. But then also, you know, look at competition is healthy. You know, Danielle also mentioned that, you know, who's in the space, you know, who's in the space that's doing something similar to what you're doing. Use that to motivate you to, you know, so you can be better at what you're doing. Also, I want to just add, sometimes people don't start certain things or they don't do certain things because they're worried about the competition or they feel like there's a saturation. But there's no saturation. Like, we live in an abundant situation here. Like, the world is abundant, right? Everything coming to us is abundant. So with that being said, all you really need to understand is that if the marketplace is a red ocean, which is this is another good book for people to look, it's called Blue Ocean Strategy. But if the marketplace is a red ocean, you don't want to start a business doing the exact same thing that everyone else is doing. You want to create your blue ocean. So if you create a blue ocean in whatever you're doing, guess what? You're the thing. Right? You're the expert. You're the authority. You got that dominating product. You got that dominating service. You know what I mean? So if you're looking to get into, let's say, cosmetics, obviously, how many different cosmetics are there? There's a multi-trillion different cosmetic brands and like products, right? But there's always some new cosmetic brand or some new cosmetic, you know, influencer coming out. So how can they be successful when it's like a multi-trillion, you know, bunch of different, you know, cosmetics brands? Well, you got to find your blue ocean. What is the thing that you can create? What's the spin on it? You know, who does it speak to? You know, is there a void in the marketplace? Like, you know, is most of like skin cream, does it do this? But you notice that your skin is like this, but this is missing. Or, you know, maybe there's like an after situation that you notice you don't like the effects of that. Well, if you're able to solve that problem, you just created a blue ocean. So I think there's two different ways to look at it. Obviously, competition, like Danielle says, super healthy. Like that might motivate you and fuel you, and also like make sure you're, you know, on par in current market. But then also use it to kind of see, all right, if everyone's over here with it, how can I be over here with it and then create my own lane, create my own blue ocean, create my
100%.
own opportunity, so then I can be an expert, authority, and I can grow my thing within an industry that supposedly is saturated.
Thank you very much for that. We were recently in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and a young entrepreneur came up with a theory of research, rethink, and remix. Nothing's new under the sun, but it's just your spin that you put onto that in terms of how that's going to now be specific or unique to yourself or as an entrepreneur. Diamond, competition.
I've always been a super competitive person, and like Danielle said, competition is healthy. I think that competition are also teachers, because there's pockets of things where you may have not known it existed in your competition. If you pay close attention enough, you can figure out parts of their strategy that helps you grow. But just going back to that competition with yourself, like if you're looking at things from year over year, believe it or not, in technology, they use year over year experiences to help them build new targeting strategies, while also using competition data to build targeting for the products that they're selling. Going back to the point where you have that competition within yourself, but as long as you remix and put a spin on it yourself, it is always going to be your own. Like, you can build something very similar to someone else, but it's still going to be different because it's you. So don't worry if the market is saturated. There's always room for more. Just keep at it and keep doing your thing. I like competition. Honestly, I think they're great teachers, truly great teachers.
No losses, just lessons. So
Yeah.
before we wrap up, I'm just going to ask one question from the chat. So do you have any specific resources that you would recommend for other entrepreneurs in terms of just, getting through these days and, getting their feet wet and being able to grow their businesses? Any supports or resources or any advice? And we'll just, we'll keep it brief.
I'll go.
Yeah, we'll start with you, Diamond. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that was Jessica's question around particularly therapy. BetterHelp is a really great resource. And as an entrepreneur, I think, you'll go through different therapists and find different resources. But if particularly to therapy, talk to your therapist and interview them. Like, for example, my therapist works with high performing entrepreneurs and coaches. He works with like NFL coaches and things of that sort. Find that person that understands the way that your brain operates. Well, you have to understand how your brain operates, and find that. They generally have really great resources that even help you grow as an entrepreneur. But BetterHelp is a really great place to help you vet different forms of therapy that doesn't constrain you to your health insurance. So definitely check that out if you're a person of color. I think it's Black Girl Therapy as another great resource for entrepreneurs, Black entrepreneurs. And another resource that I'd say to help you with like really supporting yourself is finding community again of other entrepreneurs and ask them what they do, how do they manage their days, where do they go to therapy, how do they manage their business, and you'll be surprised how many people will take their time out and give you that information that you need to grow.
All right, thank you very much for that, Diamond. Danielle, any supports that you would recommend for those people considering business or those people who are already involved in entrepreneurship, just to help them scale their businesses?
Yeah, I actually haven't ever gone to like therapy or received like any type of counseling, but I so want to. And it's something that I want to be doing in the next year, because I feel like that also, that third party perspective can give you a lot more clarity. But in the past, some things that I've done is whenever things start to get like overwhelming, I just like step away. Like Diamond said, like, you're not a doctor, like you're not saving lives. Like, you can take a beat for yourself whenever things get to be too much, and just go to something that you enjoy. Like, I love eating, so I'll just go like different food spots like around Toronto, and I'll just like think and try to just stay off of my phone and just be present, because I find like that like grounding and recentering like yourself it just helps. And then you can not just immediately dive back into it, but like slowly reapproach it, maybe from like a different point of entry. And also, again, community, like talk to people if ever things are like getting like really overwhelming, or you can't, figure something out and it's just like really frustrating and eating at you, just like talk to people, because they'll get it. Like if somebody's already found a solution to something, they'll be able to share it with you, which is great. So definitely like find your community, and also just take time for yourself and be willing to step away from things that are getting to be too much.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Danielle. And with Brendan, we're going to ask another quick question here, and we can wrap up here. We have an 11-year-old. Her name is Amina. And her question is, how do you get into the marketing your NFTs? I know you mentioned NFTs, Brendan. And as you can see here on Community Space, we've got people as young as 11. And I know there's a couple people in their 80s on here. So we've got a great range of ages and demographics here from our community. So how do we market those NFTs?
So the first thing I would do if I was her would be to start a YouTube channel. I would, I would start a YouTube channel 100%. And if you're already on Instagram and or TikTok, I would obviously be there. What you want to do, like if you got also you need a Discord community or some type of virtual community that people can consort in. And I would just start talking. I mean, the thing about NFTs is that it's like, okay, what's the project? What's the mint? How many are available? And then who's in the project, right? So who's in a project is going to bring so much more attention and validity to that project. And if you could explain that in content, especially mid-form and long-form content, that would do super well, especially the fact that you're so young and you're in a space that's ultra relevant right now, right? Everyone wants to get involved. Gary Vee just talked about how he made 91 million in 90 days on NFT. So it's ultra relevant right now. So I would immediately, when I get off of this, the next thing I would do would go to YouTube. And if you don't have a channel, I would create a channel. And I would be consistent with my profile on all of the channels. So like, who are you? What do you do with the bio? That should resonate also on TikTok and Instagram. It should all be the same. So talk about what you got going on, break down the NFTs, talk about the minting, relate it to a story, because you can't just drop a project just to drop it. It needs to be related to something. That's how people connect stories. So what's the cause? What's the story? Excuse me, what's going on with the NFT? So that's what I would definitely do. And then I saw another question, I think it was from Lanice. Somebody asked about, are business cards still important? I would say, maybe. I honestly wouldn't even use a business card. I think making that personal connection, there's so many other ways that you can market yourself. Using a business card is super passive. So if you're going to just give the business card out and then hope that the person's going to contact you, that's not really the way to, market aggressively and purpose, with purpose. So instead of like just exchanging a business card, I would take that person's phone, put their name, your contact in a person's phone or vice versa. Be sure to reach out to this person, things like that. Use social media. If you got a car, use your car. Like there's so many different ways that are modern and virtual that you can use as a business card that's going to make people like remember you and know who you are. Because most people get business cards and throw them in the back pocket. They'll probably wash their jeans and the card's in the back pocket. Like, they're gonna forget that it's there. So you want to make an impression, and don't be afraid to network. Walk up to people. Hey, what's going on? I like your thing over here. Or you look nice, and just start a conversation. Like give a compliment, pay some respect, and then just get into a conversation with someone and exchange. Hey, what's the value you do? How can I help you? How can I pour into your situation? So I would go about it that way.
Thank you very much on that, Brendan. And thank you very much to all of our guests, Danielle, Diamond, and Brendan, for bringing, a wealth of information. And they say out of the mouths of babes comes knowledge, comes wisdom, and, literally in this case comes evolution. Like we are evolving at the speed of light, and our young people should be actually the most evolved version of ourselves as parents and as older elders in their community. So on that note, we can't thank you enough. Nadine, would you like to take us out with some closing words? I believe you're on mute, my sister.
I said, as I'm having my breakfast,
Okay, all right.
I'm so very proud of today's conversation. For everyone in the audience, we're going to record this and take snippets of gems that these three awesome entrepreneurs have dropped. I mean, Diamond, to hear you, I mean, I think we have to do a session in one of our programs, maybe in our Boss Woman, with each and every one of you coming up, just to do a full session on your own, because it's been so incredibly inspiring. Danielle, my heart, I'm so very proud, you know, so as, I don't know how many of you know this, Danielle's my daughter. And, you know, as parents, we always think that, you know, I think parents always carries the thing that, you know, we don't know if we're doing a good job. But when I see Danielle, I'm just so very proud. Like, she truly is a boss woman. She's an incredible, well-informed businesswoman, and I'm so very proud to be in this space and see her just dominate and do her own thing. I'm very, very, very proud. I feel like they're all my three children. And then Brandon, as a man of color, a black man in the United States, there in your Tesla, doing your work. You know, we have a thing in law, it says res ispa loquitur. It means the thing speaks for itself. And what's interesting about all three of you is your work speaks for itself. You know, you're truly authentic and representative of your organization and your brand. And I'm just so inspired. Like, the future looks very bright when I see the three of you as leading entrepreneurs. And what I'm very impressed with, and I'm thankful for the Zoom environment. Brendan, you're in California. Diamond, you're in New York. Danielle, you're in Toronto. But here we are. You're able to share your knowledge with our audience across the world, essentially. And this for me is a big win. It's a big success. And this is why, as an entrepreneur, I'm so proud as an intrapreneur in the BBPA, in the current role that I have, is to continue to build and grow and work with entrepreneurs like yourself, from the 11-year-old that we have right up to the 80-year-old that's entrepreneurs in this space. So I want to thank you so very much for being a part of this conversation, for being a part of our journey. And I so very much look forward to working with you more in the future. Thank you so very much. Merci.
And I just wanted to say, on behalf of the BBPA and myself, thank you very much for rewriting the narrative and contributing to the reality of what Black youth are and can be. So just continue to do as you are doing. We just don't wish you luck, but we wish you success. And with the pillars and the fundamentals that you've shared this afternoon with us, they definitely are the recipe for success. And please, as we always say, just don't keep it in the room. You know, we want you to reverberate it and have it, quote unquote, rain on others in our circles that need this information and need to hear what other Black youth are doing. And it's not as hard as we all may think. Because, you know, once we can see ourselves doing it, it's easier to pick up and do it ourselves. So thank you very much for our guests. Thank you very much for the BBPA. Thank you very much to the Royal Bank of Canada and the Donald Reed Estate for making this possible. And thank you very much to our president, Ross Kadas, Nadine Spencer, and all of you for making this possible. So we look forward to seeing you next week. My name is Roderick Brereton. And as we always say, join us on Community Space. Tell a friend to tell a friend. We're here, Community Space, the financial literacy program that speaks the language of the community. Until next week, take care, stay safe, au revoir. Thank you. Community Spaces, the financial literacy program that speaks and reaches the community. Are we going to be in a better place, or are we going to be still, quote unquote, behind the 8 ball?
Because of the historical disadvantage that our community has, we most times do not have financial role models. Without that, economically and financially speaking, we'll always be at the bottom.
Keep proper books and record, because the data drives the strategy, and the strategy drives the profits.
COVID-19 sort of removed a veil. It's really exposed the structural barriers that our communities face.
These last 2 years, where there's been a heightened emphasis on the well-being of Black people, has influenced the influx of funds and opportunities. The time is now. How long is that window going to be open?
We'll see you next week. And don't forget to tell a friend to join us here on Community Space.